What's up, travelers? Welcome back to the channel. SJ Aviation HQ here. Welcome back to the channel today. So we have the model review of the Scoot Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner released by NG Models. For anything though, go ahead and leave a thumbs up below to show your support here on the channel. It'll be a great way to great indication of what you see in today's video, and of course the support on this channel as well. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel below of course, to support me further on this channel as well. And once you're there, smash that the notification bell to receive notifications as soon as videos go live onto the channel. So very cool indeed. So the model review of the Scoot Boeing 787-9 is what we have here today. This model here was released by NG Models in their January 2023 release, so quite a while ago now. So going into the review itself, I'm going to read out some information about Scoot as an airline, and then some brief information of the airframe as well, and then go ahead to showcase the model, the box, and of course the model after that. So founded on November the 1st of 2011 and commencing operations on June the 4th of 2012, Scoot is a Singaporean low-cost airline based at Singapore Changi International Airport and is a wholly owned subsidiary airline of the flag carrier Singapore Airlines. As of April 2025, Scoot flies to over 16 countries and 56 destinations across Asia, Europe, and Oceania, including the likes of the Australian cities of Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney, as well as Athens, Greece, Berlin in Germany, and Taipei, Taoyuan in Taiwan. According to planespotters.net, Scoot has a fleet of 59 aircraft, including 23 Boeing 787 Dreamliner wide-body aircraft, which makes up 13 of the Boeing 787-8 and 10 of the Boeing 787-9s, with one additional 787-9 to be delivered very soon. So very cool. So going into some information about this particular airframe for you guys now. This aircraft's MSN number or manufacturer serial number is 37130. This aircraft wears the line number of 839, which means this aircraft here was the 839th 787 Dreamliner to roll off the production line at Boeing. This aircraft here is a 7-year-old Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner that performed its first flight on April the 4th of 2019, wearing the test registration of November 1005 Sierra or 91005S for those that aren't too familiar with the phonetic alphabet. This aircraft was built and produced at Everett Plainfield, just north of Seattle, Washington, in the USA. And this aircraft is currently active on the network for Scoot Airlines at the moment, so very cool. Wearing the registration of 9 Victor Sierra Juliet India or 9V-OJI. This aircraft was delivered to Scoot on April the 19th of 2019. Has the configuration of 35 premium economy seats and 340 of the economy class seats, so very cool. This aircraft is equipped with 2 Rolls-Royce Trent 1000-J3 engines. Very cool, and this aircraft has the aircraft name of Ojisan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and was ferried between Plainfield, Everett Plainfield, and Singapore Changi between April the 20th and 21st of 2019 on its delivery flight. Of course, it would have crossed the date line, which is why there's 2 dates there, so very cool. So with that information out of the way, let's go ahead and showcase the box for you guys. Here we have this nice looking box for you guys. On the top of the box we have the Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner trademark text there in the black border there, so very cool. Here we have the 2D rendering of the Scoot Boeing 787-9. Very nice indeed, with the Scoot text there going up there. Very nice indeed. I'm pretty sure it would have gone from Fly Scoot, as it's got the Fly Scoot text on the aircraft there, so very cool. Nice looking banners here, or a delivery that's also seen on the aircraft, the front of the aircraft there, very cool. Here we have the registration on the aircraft, 9 Victor Dash Oscar Juliet India, with the trademark licensing under Boeing and the 787. Very cool. The NG Models logo in white here, and this is a 1:1 scale die-cast model in die-cast metal. Very cool. On the bottom panel, all the text here is in yellow. So we have the Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner text on the top, the NG Models logo here, and then we have the registration just here, and then we have the barcode with the item number on it, which is very nice indeed. It's more of a gold than a yellow, if I say so myself. Here we have on the right panel the 787 Dreamliner text on the top, the NG Models logo on the bottom, and then we have the Scoot logo in the middle, and the scale and what it's made out of, the die-cast metal. On this panel, it's identical to the bottom side that we saw a moment ago. Very cool. And then on this side, it's identical to the right-hand side that we saw, or the opposite side we just saw a moment ago. Very cool. And on the bottom panel, we have the NG Models logo here in the gold yellow text or color there. Very cool. The 2D rendering of the aircraft again. Then we have the Scoot details on the back of the box there. And then here we have the social media handles, the Facebook and the Instagram, and of course their website there. The licensing information there from Boeing, the barcode there with the item number, and the warning information here, and the age there, 14 plus. And then we have where it's made, of course, in China. I think NG Models are based in Guangzhou, of course that being the airport hub for China Southern Airlines. So very cool indeed. Not that far away from Hong Kong, in the Hong Kong city. Very cool. So that's this portion of the video done for you guys. The reading out of the information of the airline, the aircraft, and the showcasing of the box. So let's go ahead and check out the model. And here is the absolutely stunning Scoot Boeing 787-9, a Dreamliner released by NG Models in their January 2023 release. And in this portion of the video, I'm showcasing the model up close to the camera for you guys, giving you some nice up close shots of the details on this aircraft, whilst giving you some insights about what some of the components do in the event of a real life flight. Let's go ahead and dive straight into the review of the model. So first and foremost, zooming into the model for you guys, and here it is in all of its glory, looking absolutely fantastic indeed. This, I believe, was my first Scoot 787-9 to arrive into my collection by NG, of course. I do also have the Pikachu jet livery. If you want to go ahead and check out the model review I did of that model, it's in the top right corner right about now, or you can go ahead and tune into it afterwards by clicking the link in the description below. So very cool indeed. Now starting off here at the front of the model, we can see the nose cone. Now underneath that, or inside that, is a component called the weather radar. Now that's a component on board any aircraft, and that is used to detect storms along the flight path of a flight, to give the pilots a visual indication of the rainfall intensity ahead of them, and also that it could also provide any potential turbulence ahead of them as well. This enables the crew to navigate around any potential hazardous areas along the flight plan that they've assigned for their flight. So very cool indeed. Here are the window wipers on this aircraft, and nicely displayed 787 window shields there. Of course, very distinctive for the 787, the four main windshields there. Very nice. Here on, just below this windshield here, we can see the name of the aircraft, if I can just get it to focus on it for you guys. There we go, an Ojisan, of course. I'm not too sure what that is signifying. I'll put the meaning of that on the bottom of the screen right about now for you guys. Here we have the Fly Scoot titles here seen on all of the Scoot aircraft, of course, in their fleet, either the 320neo family, the Embraer E195, E2s, I believe they have, and of course their Dreamliner fleet, of course, they do have the Dash 8s and the Dash 9s as well. So very cool. Here we have the angle of attack sensor right in the middle of the shot. We're just here above my thumb there on the right hand side of the F. Now that is there to offer a visual indication of the amount of lift the wings are generating at a given airspeed or angle of bank. So very cool indeed. And below that we can see the pitot tubes there. Now the pitot tubes measure fluid flow velocity during a flight. And then we have the nose gear just here, as you can see, rolling nice and freely on the axis there with Juliet India on the nose gear door. Very nice indeed, of course, Juliet India being the last two digits of the aircraft's registration, 9 Victor-Oscar Juliet India, or 9V-OJI. Those that aren't too familiar with the phonetic alphabet, of course. Now here we have the first of the main cabin doors, the L1 boarding door. Now the letter L in these doors on this side of the aircraft are to represent the word left, as of course this is the left hand side, opposed to the other side being the right hand side. So very cool indeed. The next of the cabin doors is down here, the L2 boarding door, just here. Do note that there is no beacon light on top of the fuselage here. I think it would be just here where there's like a circle here, but the engine monitor should really put the beacon light on top of their 787s. For some reason they don't put the beacon lights on their 787s, but they have put them on their 350s for some reason. I mean, obviously this on the 350s, well, any aircraft, it is essential to have a beacon light on it. So I don't know why they don't do it on their Dreamliner. It does have one on the bottom, as seen just there. But really, as a detail they should put on their models, here is a antenna just here, nicely aligned, very nice. And then we have the dark grey SATCOM here, or the Wi-Fi dome, that of course is there to provide the IFE, in-flight entertainment on board the aircraft, seen behind each of the seats, of course. Here are the 14 cabin windows here on the Dash 9 Dreamliner, of course. An easy way to identify whether this is a Dash 9 or a Dash 8 or Dash 10, of course, the other two variants. The Dash 8 has, I believe it's 9 windows in between the first two doors, and I think the Dash 10 is 19. Very cool. Here we have the pedostatic system just here, looking rather messy in terms of the paintwork just here. Let's see if I can get it off. No, can't do so. But anyway, here's the pedostatic system that is there to offer or use to determine the aircraft's airspeed, Mach number, altitude, and altitude trend. So very nice indeed. Just here, I believe, is the aircraft's wing light, or it might be further down the aircraft. Can't quite see it. I believe it is just here. That of course is there to illuminate light onto the wing, the leading edge of the wing, and of course the intake of the engine. Very nice. Here we have the wing's landing light, because there's another one mounted into the nose gear, but not on the model, as you can see. If I can get it to focus on it for you guys. There you go. Very nice. Anyway, the wing light here is a component that is compulsory between 0 and 10,000 feet, of course. Seen when the aircraft is departing the inactive runway, and of course landing into the inactive runway. Between 0 and 10,000 feet. Above 10,000 feet is up to the pilot for when they can turn that off, of course. Here is this side's Rolls-Royce Trent 1000-J3 engine with the very nicely bright blue logo of Rolls-Royce just there, and of course the clamshell design of the chevrons here on the backward part of the nacelle here, looking rather nice. Let's have a wee sneaky peek into the engine there, looking rather nice indeed. And there is the vortex generator on the inboard part of the engine there, that is there to deflect any of the airflow against the leading edge of the wing that is directly behind the engine. This is what provides or creates that little vapor trail that goes over the wing when the aircraft is rotating out of an airfield. So very cool indeed. And then we of course have the slats on the aircraft, because the forward part of the wing, the flaps are on the trailing edge of the wing. Very nice indeed. And then we get down to one of my favorite parts of the 787 series, which of course is the right wingtip. A different angle or different shape depending on the angle you're looking at the aircraft. I think it is quite outstanding, the amount of wing flex that this aircraft, the 787 series, can get whilst it's rotating out. I believe they can get up to 12 to 15 feet, the height of the wings when they are rotating, which is quite outstanding. The wing profile of the 787 is something to behold. But anyway, here we have the rear navigation light. Next to that should be the white strobe lights. Of course, the bright white LED strobe lights that flash once in sequence when it is a Boeing. If this was an Airbus like an A330neo or an A350, or even one of the narrow bodies for the Airbus program, the strobe lights would flash twice in sequence, an easy way to identify whether it is one of the two big players in terms of manufacturers in the aviation sector or industry. Very nice indeed. And then have a look at the right wingtip from the top view. Looking rather nice indeed with the details on it. And then of course we have here the details of the spoilers, and of course the flaps here. Now there's the aileron just there, just in the middle here. Very nicely detailed there. Of course, the slats are the part of the wing that immediately fold up when the aircraft's landing gear have made contact with the runway when it's landing in. And of course, the flaps are the part that lower down to provide further lift to the wings. So very cool and indeed nicely detailed. And of course, the warning information there to not step past this black line. So very cool. Let's have a quick look at the landing gear here. Nice wee rhyme there. As you can see, they do roll on the axis there. They do not tilt or pivot on these struts. As you can see, nicely rolling gears. And then we have the L3 door, not so much a boarding door, more so an emergency exit door like every other of the doors. Of course, the emergency escape slide would fold out of each of the doors, but this one is not a boarding door. Here we have the large black Dreamliner word type here. Of course, the 787 series are known as the Dreamliner. Very nice. I'm pretty sure the 200LR variant of the 777 is known as the Worldliner. Wonder what the A350 would be known as. Let me know in the comments below what you would call the 350 family. Of course, the 747 is nicknamed the Queen of the Skies. A380 is known as the King of the Skies. I personally call the 787 the Princess of the Skies, and the 350 would for me be the Prince of the Skies. Let me know what you would call each of those aircraft, or your preference of those names. Here we have the antenna on the bottom of the aircraft, the only one that is on the bottom of the aircraft here. Here we have the antennas that are on at the forward part of the base of the tail fin. Very nicely done. As you can see on the top of the fuselage, they are nicely aligned there. Here we have the large black registration of this aircraft, 9 Victor Oscar Juliet India. Very nice, with the cargo compartment just below that. And the L4 door can be used as a boarding door when either boarding or disembarking the aircraft via the air stairs, of course, provided on the apron of the airport. Very nice. And then we get to the empennage of the aircraft, or the tailplane, especially on the tail fin, where we see the large Scoot titles there. Very nicely done. I wonder if these 787s would go into the parent company Singapore Airlines' livery if Singapore Airlines decides to end the operations of Scoot. Did see in the past with Silk Air when Silk Air's Max 8s went to the mainline fleet for Singapore Airlines. Very nice livery on the narrow bodies for Singapore Airlines. Wouldn't have thought that the Singapore Airlines livery would have looked nice on narrow bodies, but they certainly do, in my opinion. I do have a Max 8 in my collection for Singapore Airlines. It's by JC Wings. If anyone would like me to do more model reviews of narrow body aircraft, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best in terms of finding one to do for you guys. Now here are the elevators of the aircraft. Sorry for the dust and debris that is on them. I tried my best to get rid of some of them just before that prevail, but ignore them. You can see on the elevators here, we can see these small little dots. They are there to represent the tail light, or logo lights, that of course, as the name suggests, it lights up the tail fin to light up the tail fin and the logo on the tail fin, of course, to provide an identification to anyone who's in the control tower about who the carrier of the aircraft is. In this case, it would be Scoot, of course. Could also be a marketing tool for anyone who is within the terminals or around the perimeter of the airfield, whether whilst plane spotting or just watching the aircraft, to give them the sense to want to fly the aircraft or the airline. Very nice indeed. And then we got the nicely shaped APU here. Of course, auxiliary power unit is the full name of the APU abbreviation. Very nicely done. And next to that, we see the small grey square just here, just at the end of my finger. If I can get it in the shot, there we go. That is known as the APU inlet door. That folds out when the aircraft's engines are just being turned on, and of course it provides as an another exhaust to the APU as well, because the APU exhaust is just here, but it also provides another one. Very nice. Of course, the APU being an extra engine on board the aircraft, so the aircraft may have two main engines, but of course the APU located just below here. As you can see, the door to the APU, which I'll show later on in the video as we look at the bottom of the aircraft. So very cool indeed. Let's have a look at the minor differences on this side of the aircraft. Here we have the emergency escape hatch for the cockpit. Of course, that provides an exit way to the to anyone who's in the cockpit, mainly the pilots, of course. Very nicely done, nicely detailed there. Here we have a forward baggage compartment at the forward part of the aircraft, just there, looking nicely done. Then we have the rear baggage compartment just here. Very nice. On this wing, you can see that this is a green navigation light opposed to the red on the opposite side. Here is the number 2 Rolls-Royce engine, looking rather nice, opposed to the number 1 being on the opposite side, with a nice wee look at the interior there. Very dirty, this aircraft, for some reason. Very nicely done. Let's have a look at the bottom of the aircraft, the belly of this beautiful Dreamliner. Here we have the nose gear door. Of course, that is where the nose gear is retracted into after rotating out of an airfield. Very nicely done. You can see the seam line for where the paint work was done. Not too much of a fan about that, but if it's not carrying on up the aircraft, which it seems to look like it is, it shouldn't really be noticeable. But you can definitely see where the paint is meeting the decals there. Interesting. Here we have the beacon light on the bottom of the aircraft. As I mentioned, There is no beacon light on the top of the aircraft. Not too much a fan of that, as you can probably tell. Then here we have the stand hole for anyone who puts their 400 scale aircraft on a stand, of course, with the grey outline of the landing gear doors. Here's another look at the details on the bottom of the gears here. As you can see, they do roll on the axis, just losing a bit of light here, unfortunately. Here's the nicely done details on the engines of this aircraft, looking into the exhaust there, looking rather fancy indeed. One of my favourite molds, I would have to say, for the 787 series is, of course, NG models. AV500 do a good job on theirs. It would be interesting to see if HX models comes into the 787 series. They do a good job with their 747s. If you missed out on the model review I did of the Singapore Airlines tropical livery for the 747-400, go ahead and check it out, top right corner right about now, as we have a look at the details on the bottom of the wing here. Here we have the other wing where it states that this the registration here, Niner Victor Oscar Juliet India, looking wonderful as ever. Here we have the red outline for where the ram air turbine would be, of course the RAT, a small propeller light device that drops down to provide electrical assistance to the engines when need be. Also seen whilst the aircraft is in testing. Of course, this aircraft was built and produced at Everett Plainfield, so anyone at the time of this aircraft being flown around for their test flights would have seen the ram air turbine, and of course would have heard the ram air turbine when this aircraft was coming in for landing. So very nice. And as I mentioned before, here we have the entryway to the APU, auxiliary power unit, and of course these doors fold out to provide an access way to the ground engineers to assist, or provide work onto the APU. So very cool indeed. Overall, a very interesting livery for Scoot Airlines. As I mentioned, it would be quite interesting to see where these 787s would go if Singapore Airlines were to take ownership of them, just like I mentioned with the MAX 8s that went from Silkair to the parent company. Singapore Airlines being my favourite carrier, I wouldn't be against that, seeing their beautiful livery on a 787-9, as they do have -10s in their fleet. Go ahead and check out the model review I did of the NG models -10 that I have in my collection in the top right corner right about now. But if you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up below. That'll be a great indication of how much you did enjoy this video, and of course the content here on this channel. Comment below what you did enjoy. Do you have this model? Do you like this livery? Do you like the details on this model? Any feedback about what I can improve on with my videos, go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video and you want to come along and support me even further, go ahead and subscribe to the channel below. And of course, whilst you're there, get the notifications on. Set the notifications to all, of course, to get all of the notifications as soon as the videos go live onto the channel. More videos coming up very, very soon, so come along and tune in. And I must thank you in advance for any support shown on this video, and of course any of my other videos. So thank you very much in advance, as always. If you want to go along and support me even further on my social media channels, go ahead and scan the QR code you can see on the screen now. That'll lead you straight to my Instagram page, the one place that I showcase all of my models in terms of photos, and of course the news and updates around my airports network, my model airport, of course Azure International Airport, and of course my social media channels as well, here on YouTube as well, and of course my Instagram pages, etc. And of course, if you want to go and check out all of my links in one full place for easier access, go ahead and scan the QR code you can see on the screen now. It will lead you straight to my Linktree page for easier access for all of my links. If you don't have the means to scan any of those QR codes, you don't have to worry, because there are additional links in the description below, and of course in the pinned comment. So thank you very much in advance for any support on those social media channels. So thank you very much as always. Now that is this video done for you guys, so thank you very much for coming along to view this model review of the Scoot a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner released by Energy Models in their January 2023 release. Again, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and of course get the bell icon on for notifications to be on, of course. Now, if you want to come along and support me even further and watch some more content like this, there are some options on the end screen. On the left-hand side will be the most recent video here on this channel. On the right-hand side will be the full playlist of model reviews I've done so far here on this channel. In the middle will be where you can subscribe. But until next time, guys, fly safe, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.